Next, we're going to talk about what a class attribute is. The class attribute specifies one or more class names for an element. The class attribute is mostly used to point to a class in a style sheet. So once again, it's linked to CSS styling, and it's its main purpose. However, it can also be used by JavaScript via the HTML DOM to make changes to HTML elements within a specified class. And this is where the class attribute gets more complicated. And we'll talk more about that later in the week. Class attribute is part of the global attributes and can be used on any HTML element. So that's similar to what we talked about before. So in terms of how it looks, so I'm going to go back to HTML, go down to the attribute list, go to global attributes this time, and click on class. So one thing you're going to notice about class is that the syntax is different. What you do is you can have a selector like H1 and then a dot, and then you can have intro and you give it a name, similar to what we did for ID. So this is what the styling might look like. And then in your HTML code, instead of saying ID equals, you would say class equals. So for this example here, for the H1 header, the text would be header 1 and it would be blue. Other H1 tags, other H1s would not have that blue color unless you put class equals intro after it. So it's going to feel pretty similar, and you don't even need to use the H1 part, the tag part, if you don't want to. So let's go ahead and take a look at hopefully someplace where we could do some examples. So we haven't done any styling with images, and I have some images in there. I'm going to double check and make sure in my Notepad++ that we have not styled any images. And we have not. So I thought it might be interesting to do a little bit of that. So let's go to our home page, and we're going to go ahead and add the attribute class equals, we'll just say, we'll call this border. Border, how about IMG border? Okay, so we went ahead and give it a name. So, and I'm going to apply the styling to this image in particular. And we'll see how that goes. So image border is what I'm doing. So I'm going to come here. I'm going to do a Control-C. And I'm going to add this styling. So I think I'm going to just come up here after. It doesn't really matter where we place it. So what I'm going to do is say img dot, and then I'm going to put image border. I'm going to put a curly bracket and then another curly bracket. So what I'd like to do is put a border in black. So somewhere in here I know I have a border tag. And let's paste that in here for right now. And so this is going on my home page. Let me pop that open. So now if I look at my first image, it did not appear to work. Okay, let's go back and make sure I saved everything. I did not. So let me save that. Okay. And let's try it again. And now I have my border. One cool thing we can do in styling that I haven't showed you yet is when we're doing borders, we can play around with something called the border radius. So let's see if we can find that in here. Border radius. And I just want to show it to you quickly so we can play around with the edges of the border. So we create a radius. So I want to steal this command here. So this is how we do it, and we can specify using pixels. So let's go back and go to our styling, and let's put this after. And 25 is pretty extreme. I like to kind of do this a little more subtly. So let's go ahead and just do 5 pixels. So let's go back and look at what happens when we do that. And you can see this really softens up the corners of the image, and I like it. So let's try 10 and see the difference. Go ahead and do a save. And it looks nice. So we can do that with any and all the pictures that you want on any of the pages. So let's go back to Notepad++, and let's go back to index, and let's just say that we're going to apply this attribute to all 3 of these images in the first row. And I think earlier, do we have another image in here? I can't remember. Let's save it. Let's refresh. Okay, and let's back up a little bit. And we don't have any more images. I mean, if you want to, you can apply to all the image. But I do think that is a fun little feature to do. You can even do that to tables as well if you want to. It's something good to play around with. So if you wanted to apply that same styling anywhere else in your website, you could. Let's go to the media page, and you can see that we could apply that styling to all 3 of these, I believe. So let's go ahead and go to the media page. And let's find where let's add that attribute. Oops, let's see. I'm going to put it right in the beginning. So here and here and well, actually, let's just try that one. Let's see how we do with the iframe command. Let's save that. Now, something in our styling that may be a bit of a problem is that I have this IMG here. So we're going to try a couple things here. Let's do a comma. And I'm going to copy this. Actually, let's take that out. We really don't need to put this in here. We can just make it generic, so it should be able to work for any tag. So we're going to go back to our home page and double check and make sure it's still working. It's still working. We're still applying the styling. Now let's go back to our media page, and we have gone ahead and added the class image border. And we're going to save that. We already saved it. I can tell because the disk is not showing. Go back to my media page, and you can see that you have applied the styling.